Today, I want to share my journey of moving out finally. Ever since I started working, and so this is in my early 20s when I started working, I always wanted a space for myself. And, you know, in the early days, I did get a chance to stay away from my family because in my previous job I was posted to south of India, that is Chennai, and I stayed there for a good 1.5 2 years. And early on, when I was told to go from Mumbai to there and posted there, that was the first time I was actually going to be staying away from my family. And I'm the youngest of three siblings, so I was always cared and taken care of a lot and pampered. So moving out and getting transferred was a shocker for me. And I did get really emotional. And staying away was the most difficult thing that had happened to me. Although I did love my job and I did love what I was doing, but then yes, it was extremely difficult and a painful experience. But then what I did realize after I was posted there for in a couple of months, what I did realize was that I was getting better. I was getting sharper and smarter, because we were like six guys staying in a 2 BHK. And when you are with a lot of your friends and colleagues, you have those skills that get sharpened on a daily basis, right? You are meeting, you are interacting with they're outsiders, they're your colleagues and friends, but then yes, they are ultimately each his own, right? Each one takes care of himself. So yes, you know that you have to watch your back all the time, and you have to be there, show up all the time for yourself. So yes, it was a really good experience. And in fact, I still remember the day when we were told that we are going to be going back. I still remember the call from my base manager that would you like to go back. And then because all the other five were going back to Mumbai, I had to say yes. But then I did understand what is going to happen, because back with your parents, you are not going to be as sharp and smart, because you kind of get a bit rusty, right, at home, because you are going to be pampered again. And everyone is going to be taking care of you. So I was extremely reluctant to come back to Mumbai. And ever since coming back to Mumbai, I did realize that yes, I want to move out. When you're in a city like Mumbai, it is difficult for someone, a guy, to say that I'm going to be staying away from my parents. The society doesn't really see it, especially conservative middle class families do not see it in very good light. So I used to always kick myself from the inside that I'm going to be I do want to move out, and what I'm doing right now is not the best for me. But then because of the societal pressure and the family pressure, I used to always uh, feel really not very good, feel pressured. But then yes, I did stay back for a very very long time with my family. And yes, for the last couple of years, I would say for 3 to 4 years, I was staying alone, because both my siblings had moved out of India. And then because of that, my parents had also moved out of India for a really long time. But then yes, that experience of staying alone in Mumbai, although in my parents' house, but it was good, it was comfortable. But then I always knew that this particular place is not my place. And you really want to develop something that is of your own, right? You want to have something that is of your own, that you can call your own creation. Basically, you want to say that this particular thing is mine, right? And especially a space that is yours is yours, the way you made it, the way you designed it. It really kicks you in a different way, right? And so that was the case. And then I always knew that when my parents are going to be back, the story is going to be the same, and the space is not going to be there. And that was always there. But then what happened was, yes, my parents did come back from abroad. And then ultimately it was getting really difficult, because now I was used to staying alone for 3 to 4 years and 5 years. And then yes, of course, small things like, let's say, starting a YouTube channel, or other things as well, let's say my entrepreneurial journey. Although it does seem like, what will a house or staying away would do, but then it does give you some sense of responsibility when you're alone, when you're taking care of your own costs, and you take such a drastic step of staying outside of your family home. It does develop you in a completely different way. People don't realize it, but then yes, that's the one of the biggest keys that I have realized post moving out. So I used to always be on the bylines, like I've mentioned earlier, of starting a YouTube channel, or probably starting an entrepreneurial journey, or uh, even the job that you're doing, you are not doing it at that kind of a level, with that kind of a seriousness. But then, yes, the moment I moved out, within 25 to 30 days, I started the YouTube channel. I am pursuing the entrepreneurial project very, very seriously, because now I know at the back of my mind that I am I do not have any excuses, and I have taken up this kind of an expenditure on myself, and now there is not going to be anyone to be looking after me. I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my costs involved in this particular thing that I have done, and so so that is there. Earlier, moving out was also a lot of guilt. Especially from your parents, you get a lot of guilt is thrown at you, and they don't really understand the kind of feelings that are you might be going through, and then what do you want to do with your life. So what really I would like to talk about the changes that have happened in me post me moving out. So the early days, the early 10-15 days were extremely difficult, and you kind of don't feel like it is your particular place, and you're trying to get accustomed to the place yourself, and not everything is going in your favor, and then a lot of modalities need to be taken care of. But post that, at that particular phase of 15, 20 days or 30 days, you just have to be calm and patient with yourself, and there's not a lot of action in terms of the goals that you had set out for are happening, but then still in the background, it's all going to be okay, is what you need to be okay with. You need to have that peace with the fact that this it is going to take a little bit of time, but then once the action starts, it starts, and the momentum starts to build. And so that is exactly what happened. I gave myself a 30-day cool down period, and post that 30 days, I started this venture, and I started the planning and all the background work and the back end work that is there in the entrepreneurial journey. And of course, I am doing my day job along with these two things that I do. And and slowly and steadily, that feeling of guilt also kind of fades away, and your parents are also okay with the fact that yes, the intentions are not wrong, but yes, the person wants to grow, and wants to develop themselves. And in what has changed internally in the thought process also, is what I would like to say is that when you are alone with yourself, you are kind of thinking a lot. You're thinking uh, at least 10, 12 steps ahead. You're always watching your back. You are, like I had mentioned earlier, that that now there is no one else that is going to be taking care of you. You have very few people to talk to as well, because now that you're on your own, you have to look after yourself, and you need to, earlier you had so many people, your siblings, your parents, to talk to and discuss on a daily basis, because once you're physically out of contact, there is a kind of a distance that is created, at least on a daily basis. Of course, the distance also, like people say, that distance also brings you closer. Yes, of course, that brings you closer, but then on a daily operational basis, yes, there is a distance, and then you can't be going for help again and again, asking for help. So that is one change, and then you need to discuss it. You need to have that conversation only with yourself, probably a friend, or if you have a partner as well. So the biggest shift here, what I have realized, is not where you live or how you live, it is who you become. That is the biggest mental shift that happens. And also, one thing that I have realized is that not all the time it happens that being around people helps you. A lot of times, being around people is a lot of noise that is created, and your goals kind of fade away in that noise. The biggest realization here is that you need to sit alone with yourself and have those deep conversations with yourself. That is when the real growth and the mental advancement happens. This is First Principles. My name is Zaid, and thank you for tuning in.